Into my eyes.
I am Michael Schaefer, an ex-professor of international political economy. I spent 30 years of my life teaching at university, 5 years at Harvard as a teaching fellow, and then 25 years at Rutgers University. I quit and came here to Prao, one of the poorest districts in northern Thailand, to start a community development organization. So here we are in beautiful Prao, where we are on the grounds of Warm Heart Worldwide, or here in Thailand, the Warm Heart Foundation, a community development organization. Here we have a children's home where we have 40 children who come from those villages that don't have schools in them, where the children would be unable to go to school, and where the children speak their own Hill Tribe languages. So if they even come to the valley to go to school, they're really lost because they don't speak Thai. So we bring them here, they live with us, we give them intensive Thai classes, they go to the local school, but every day they come home for homework help and math classes and Thai classes and so on.
China Kappa jumps to 2 feet creep up the road, to photo to record me lumps and war. Their ancestors is just so very yellow white flash. A violent red Christmas rips light as live like grass, but so high from the leak avalanche, mine is a watery pit, painless with immense.
Warm Heart's special approach is to really focus entirely on the community. Most organizations focus on a problem. The problem might be clean water, or baby's health, or something like that. We focus on the community specifically. So my wife and I, we founded this together. We live here. We spend an entire year asking people in the community, what do you think you need? What are your problems? And then develop the programs of Warm Heart specifically to meet those problems as the people in the community define them. So our organization is immediately responsive to all of the problems of our community, which all relate to one another, right? We are not sort of firing a silver bullet to fix one problem in the middle of all of the problems, but we're attempting to find integrated ways to solve the overall problems of the community, but also the problems of the community as understood by the people of the community. Because when you ask them, they don't understand their problems the same as outside NGOs do. More than a third of the population here lives on less than $1.50 US per day, which is considerably less than the Thai national poverty line. So it is poor. More than a third of the population has no land, and then more than another third does not have enough land to live on. So substantially more than 2/3 of the population have as their only available work here to work as agricultural day laborers. They are paid about 120 baht per day, which is about $4 US. The Thai national minimum wage is 300 baht a day. So you really see the problem of there being no jobs and a huge oversupply of unskilled, uneducated people. During the dry season, which is 5 months of the year, there is no work at all. So probably half of the population of Prao, a substantial portion of the adult population of Prao, goes to work in other parts of Thailand in just the worst possible jobs you can imagine. Our micro-enterprise program addresses the need for jobs. It's how do you create income-earning possibilities here in Prao. And our target population is the poorest and most needy of the population. Those women who are left behind when everybody else goes away. The women who care for their own children, the children of their older children, their parents and even their grandparents, and anybody who's disabled in the family. So it's very common here during the dry season to find a woman between, say, 45 and 55 who is caring for anywhere from 6 to 8 people, all of whom are dependents. She has maybe a 4th grade education and no real skills and no place to work. So the micro-enterprise program addressed that woman and said, what can we do to give this woman a way to support herself and all of the dependents she has who require food? And so that's what microenterprise is all about. Very simple job creation. A lot of people don't realize it, but there are a lot of different kinds of silk. Almost everybody's familiar with mulberry silk. It's the shiny, beautiful, very fine filament silk that has been made famous by China and Japan for hundreds of years. But there are also other wild silks that grow only in very, very special places. Northern Thailand, where we are, and a small area in India, are the only 2 places in the world, for example, where something called Eri silk can be grown. Eri silk is not at all like mulberry silk. The cocoon doesn't get thrown into boiling water and then unwrapped, giving these incredibly long strands of very thin filament. But the worm makes a cocoon by going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth inside a little box. So the threads themselves are maybe only 2 or 3 inches long. And to make anything from them, you must cut the open and empty the pupa out. You don't boil them to death, you empty them out. And then you literally just bang on this cocoon, and as the worm spit breaks up, it puffs up, and then you spin the Eri silk the way you spin, say, a big cotton ball or wool. And it gives a very different kind of thread. It gives a thread that's more like wool yarn. And the silk we weave, therefore, has a very kind of nubbly, uneven, rough surface. It's really gorgeous stuff. It looks completely different from normal silk, mulberry silk. But it's thicker, warmer. It's really utterly unique. It takes colors in very different ways. Much more subtle dyeing with botanicals and so on. So here in Prao, we've trained cooperatives of women how to grow the Eri silkworms. And then we take the cocoons that they produce, and we've trained other cooperatives of women how to spin that silk into thread from very thin to very fat. We've trained others how to make botanical dyes out of leaves and roots and flowers and all the various different things, everything from literally black, which is, believe it or not, a pink dye mixed with rust, to bright yellows and greens and so on, made out of mango leaves and whatnot. And then we have weaving co-ops that take this beautiful thread and weave it into wonderful products. So there's a complete supply chain which runs from the production of the actual silkworms themselves, which are quite little beasts. When they're ready to go into their cocoon, they're like this big, and they're all over the place, all the way up. Our beautiful, most valuable scarves, which are really long and wide and made out of this completely organic, hand-spun thread, botanically dyed, hand-woven silk. They're really gorgeous. In a climate like this, if you take the trees off of mountain soil, it just dies. All of the organic matter just disappears completely. And so the fields are essentially infertile. And when they plant corn, they plant it like this far apart. Just one corn stalk, one corn. It's the most pathetic corn you've ever seen in your life. And because so much of our mountains are cut that way, all the water runs off during the rainy season, and we have terrible floods in Bangkok because of this. But down here in the valley, there's no water during the dry season. So once this valley had 2 crops of rice a year, today more than half of it gets only 1, and that half is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So those mountains are a real disaster. Well, the program that we run in the mountains is to introduce very high quality Arabica coffee, and to introduce the cultivation of the very best kind of coffee. So coffee that is grown under shade trees produces the best quality coffee. Coffee that is properly fertilized for the soils that it's being grown in produces the best coffee. Coffee that is picked the right way produces the best quality coffee, and so on. And so we work with our children's villages to take very steep cornfields and reforest them. The reforestation stops the rain runoff, increases the water retention, helps save the watershed. But it creates the shade necessary for high quality coffee. In order to ensure that the coffee grows well, we produce an organic fertilizer that we make here out of something called biochar. We use that, but we also teach the farmers how to plant peanuts between their coffee trees and between the remaining corn stalks. Because peanut, 1, they can sell it and make money, but 2, it fixes nitrogen in the soil. And these soils are very low in nitrogen, and nitrogen is essential for all types of plant growth. So by changing the way they do agriculture, and by introducing the new crops, we can increase the amount of money they make. We can reduce the amount of labor they do, because you don't really have to take care of coffee the way you have to hoe corn. And we can make their income more stable. Our microenterprise programs, in some ways, are exceptionally successful. We have been working with cooperatives of women, and since none of these women have any access to, in a sense, the outside world, to real demand. They don't know anything about fashion design. They don't know anything about global market expectations and so on. We provide a lot of that information to them. We bring them designs. We teach them about the quality requirements that the international market provides. We also teach them about weaving and spinning and so on. We bring in experts to run classes and those things. But the ongoing problem that we confront, the same problem that all microenterprise in the developing world confronts, is market access. It is extremely hard from out here in Prow to gain access to a sufficiently large and stable global market. Our cooperatives can't produce 5,000, 10,000 pieces at a time. They can produce 50 pieces a month, 100 pieces a month. And those pieces are not perfectly identical and so on. I mean, they have all of those unique characteristics that make artisanal production exquisite, unique, right? But most buyers don't understand that. And most buyers don't want to listen to explanations about why products don't arrive on the day they were demanded, don't meet the specs that were sent, and so on and so forth. And furthermore, it's simply extremely expensive to get product from here to market. Our very best product, an entirely organic, hand-spun, hand-woven silk scarf, costs, when we sell it from here, its price is 1/6 of the shipping costs to get it to an advanced country market. That's not an arrangement that can work for us, nor for buyers in the developing world. So it's getting from the micro-enterprise itself to the market that's really the challenge that confronts us and the hundreds of other organizations like ours.
Thank you very much, Michael.